I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed, just like the return, I'd like to say guests, but experts on this Friday show. This couple has been on before. I like to refer to them as the dynamic duo because they're both doctors. They happen to be married. And I would like to say that there's some of these young doctors that are coming around that I'm hoping will help save the planet, save the world. Because, look, I hate to be that guy with the tinfoil hat, but it ain't looking good right now. And there's going to be a grassroots effort to turn this ship, to get this ship righted and then turn it around. Folks, I'm talking about Dr. Laura Buchanan and Dr. Matthew Calkins. How are you guys doing?
Doing excellent.
Good, Vinny. How are you doing?
It's nice to be back.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't complain. Well, I could. Well, all I do is complain. But, it's interesting. You guys were on a couple of months ago, and since you've been on, and I knew this was coming around. It's out now. We know about it now. This new food pyramid. This new compass that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember the first time, and we're going to talk about low carb Boca, but you guys are just down there. And I know my friend was down there. Oh God, I'm losing my train of thought. Big fat surprise. Nina Teichos was down there. And Nina, I don't know if she texted or emailed me several months back. Like I want to say back in August or so. And she sent this graph, right? And I looked at it and I simply wrote back, LOL. And she wrote back to me, she goes, that wasn't a joke. And I was like, so I got her on the phone. I was like, what? Wait, what? She's like, no, this is what's coming down the pike. And I'm like, wait, really? Come on. What's I'm not getting the joke. And Nina's not one for practical jokes. So I immediately got scared. I was like, come on. There's breakfast cereals. There's like Captain Crunch ahead of meat, eggs, and cheese and dairy. And she was like, yeah, exactly. They're saying that breakfast cereals are way healthier than red meat. And it seems to me, I'm 60 years old. Nina's right behind me somewhere. She's mid-50s. And it's bizarro world. Because when I was growing up in school, they were like, you need to eat meat to be strong, and you need to get your vegetables to be vitamins and vibrant, and you need to get your dairy in you because the protein is the building blocks of blah, 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 blah. And now we're here, right? Mm-hmm. What say you guys?
The food compass is, I mean, I know why you said LOL. You look at it and you're like, this can't be real, right? There's no science that's going to back this up. No good science.
Right.
And yeah, I had the same response as like, it was just another one of those moments where you roll your eyes and you're like, all right, how can we start helping reverse and prevent chronic disease as long as things like this keep coming out?
Yeah, this is a new thing from Tufts Medical School. One of the primary investigators on this that published it is from there. And essentially for the listeners, there was this very now infamous picture, which is actually not in the publication. Somebody dredged their publication and made this picture where you had things going from 100, which are green, a bar that's green and 100, and then shorter bars that turn yellow and red all the way down to like 1 or 0. And you're exactly right. Up at the top, I think it's around 60 or 70, indicating it's more healthy. You have things like Cheerios, and then you go down to the eggs and the red meat, and it's like in the 10s or 20s. And it's crazy. If you actually look at that paper too, I saw another quote from it today. The authors actually recognize that it doesn't do a good job of like separating between the groups. So it tells you, I think, which cereals are good based on their metrics, which honestly none of them are. But it doesn't do a good job of saying that cereals are better or worse than meats, but that's what it comes out as. So at the end of the day, what's the point? If you can't compare foods and their healthfulness, it's just one extra thing that's going to confuse people and patients and just make our lives a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not just cereals that's above meat, eggs, and dairy. M&Ms, they named M&Ms by name. They were listed in the good category.
I wonder how much money that cost.
But look, it's that's where the money. I always say follow the money, and people go, how do you? All you have to do is look at the list. When you have M&Ms on there by name as being a healthy food over red meat, it's game over. And that's what made me laugh when I saw the Nina Teicholz thing. I was, with Nina put this together. What is she doing? And, truth is stranger than fiction. But to your point, Matthew, I did this in my first movie. I don't know if you saw Fat documentary, but I talked about the food pyramid, the old version of it. And I said, look, on the bottom, there's 11 servings of carbohydrates. And if you get to the middle section, there's X servings. At the top, there's X servings. So they're telling you, and I can't remember this, so don't quote me on this, either 21 or 22 servings of carbohydrates per day. Now, here's the crazy part. What's a serving? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is because I went and looked it up. And by the way, if you try to, and it's, people are, so tell us, Vinnie, what's the serving? It's different for, grains, X amount of ounces and this and that. Everything is different, X amount of ounces, right? If you added it all up and if you ate what they told you to eat, you could not get it all in one day.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, meat is at the very top. So after you eat all of this bread, all of this pasta, all of this rice and corn, and everything they're telling you to eat, and the vegetables, you would literally be shitting like a cow. You know how cattle and horses can eat and shit at the same time? We would become that.
Yeah.
I know it sounds funny, right? But your doctors are we supposed to be taxed that much? Is our digestive system made? You guys cut on cadavers. I cut on cadavers. We both know our bodies, our digestive system was never meant to be taxed 100% of the day. A cow has 4 stomachs. We have the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any comment?
I'm laughing, but you're totally right. It's led us to really where we are, which is a pandemic of obesity and chronic disease, diabetes, and just worsening, unfortunately, metabolic health. Matt, he works on the inpatient service still at our hospital. And it's so sad because every time he's on, we have patients coming in with diabetes who have complications and are getting amputations every single time.
Yeah. And looking at the food pyramid, you also have to wonder what's riding along with what they're telling you to eat. So let's even go with whole grains. So you could make the case for white bread even better, but even for whole grains, people love to talk about nutrient density, but you cannot convince me of any, like, the nutrient density of a whole grain slice of bread is going to be that much more beneficial than liver or a ribeye with everything else that goes along with that. It's just, it's incredible. They want you to take in all of that weight of grains, and what's coming along with it? Nothing.
Well, let's go back to what Laura just said,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want you to eat the stuff, right? But they don't want you to be educated, right? So if you take that, now I've had people tell me, I do these consults every single day. My ear to the ground is my consults. So I'm hearing what's going on. And I have people who are type 2 diabetic and this, that, and the whole thing. And I'll say, well, has your doctor offered you a CGM?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, no, my doctor refuses to give me one. And the reason being, look, the CGM is the biggest nightmare that's ever happened to medicine, because now people can see in real time, when I eat this crap, this is what happens. Everything goes off the charts. So now we have this crazy device where people can see it in real time. It's like having a tachometer on your body, folks. CGM, for anyone who doesn't know, is a constant glucose monitor. So some doctors will, the prescription, they'll give it to you on prescription, and some people's insurance will pay for it. Some people get them just to have them. I don't know how they get them, but you get them just to have them. I'm still old school. I have people pricking their fingers and doing the whole thing. But when people can see it in real time on their telephone, watching that tachometer move with a slice of bread. Okay, RDs, registered dietitians, you've been telling us that somehow this whole grain is magically healthy for you, but I have a medical device on my body telling me you're wrong. So shouldn't it be game over at that point?
Yes, it's truth with a capital T. And I know Laura has a great story about this too. But just quickly, Canada and Europe, continuous glucose monitors are available over the counter. The FDA has not approved them for that yet in the US. You need a prescription. And I'm honest, there has been no adverse events, no serious adverse events. Nothing of any kind negative has come from these things. And yet the FDA still has not approved them to be over the counter, to be bought without a prescription, to just help people improve the metabolic health without the prescription from a doctor who, as you said, they may or may not even write the thing nowadays.
Yeah, and I had a few patients who I still keep in contact with from residency, and one of them was using a continuous glucose monitor. She had diabetes. She put her diabetes into remission with the help of a low carb lifestyle and using the CGM to help guide her habits. And her new doctor said, "I'm not going to refill your CGM because you no longer have diabetes."
But I get that, but here's the deal. At least she knows, she's probably had enough track record with it. I tell people you don't need it forever. You just need it long enough to realize it's like having a little Vinnie in your pocket, as I tell people.
Mm-hmm.
I just third person myself, and that's horrible. But instead of having me yapping at you, you just look at your phone, and it's exactly. And by the way, folks, in case you're wondering, Dr. Laura here. Dr. Laura, wait a minute. You can start. Never mind. Dr. Laura is a family doctor and obesity medical expert. She's got all of that in her credentials now. Matthew Calkins, her husband, is still in his residency, but he's coming right behind her, and he's getting his residency in family medicine, right?
Mm-hmm. Both. Yep.
Yeah. So this is a power couple that's out there, and I need more couples like this. If your husband or wife is not a doctor, we need more doctors, these young doctors like yourself. You guys have just come through, the hell of medical school and everything else, and now you're young doctors. Is anyone else following along like you guys, or are they just going, hey, I'm just going to start handing out pills? Where are these? And look, you're not telling stories on your friends and the whole thing. What's the truth behind that? What are most of these kids doing nowadays?
So we're definitely seeing more interest in the metabolic health area and, low carb lifestyle. And within our residency, there are several people who have even tried, after, many discussions, they've tried going on a ketogenic diet, and almost everyone, of course, feels better when they do that. But they've also offered their patients kind of low carb as a treatment option rather than medications, which is incredible. I know Nick Norwitz at Harvard is doing some awesome work and has really, I think, sparked a huge interest in metabolic health and nutrition and lifestyle to treat chronic disease. And so that's really exciting. And he actually published a really good paper using continuous glucose monitors in dental and medical students over there.
And Laura's exactly right. And I think, even to emphasize it really matters who has come before us. So for everything you have been doing, Vinnie, over the past many, many years, improving everybody's metabolic health that you've helped, the people we saw at the SMHP conference over the weekend, like the big names, Dr. Eric Westman, he started all this in 2004 with his first paper, and it just gets easier and easier to do this as each year progresses. So for Laura, she had to fight back a lot to get fasting insulins and to get CGMs and to tell some of the attendings that, a low carb diet isn't going to cause a heart attack tomorrow. And then because she did that, and because I was able to follow up with her after that year, and I would say we're probably in one of the top residencies for using CGMs in patients that have type 2 diabetes and also those that do not. And I'm seeing a lot of low carbohydrate teaching in my co-residents and even attendings plans. Whereas I'm convinced that none of that was happening even 4 years ago.
Well, you know, you would think that it's going to all come around, but I'm going to give you an example. I won't even give the guy's first name, even though I spoke to 3 people this week with his same first name. But I'm talking to this guy. I'm looking at my book over here because it's written down right here. And he's a second or third time phone caller. And by the way, folks, I don't tell people, hey, you got to call me back. You know, people do this when they want to, and they get help and they call back and they do whatever. But this guy, he goes, hey, listen, we spoke a month and a half ago, or maybe 5 weeks ago. Over the holidays, I've pretty much lost my goal weight. He didn't have a lot to lose, and he may want to come down another 15 or 20 pounds, right? So he was right over 200. Now he's below 200. And I told him he should be at 175, age, weight, whole deal. And he goes, yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. He goes, but listen, he goes, I have a bit of a problem. And I was like, yeah, go on. He goes, well, my triglycerides are crazy low. They're, you know, I don't know what he said, 50, 60, something like that. I went, okay, that's great. And this is great. That's great. My belt loops have come down. I've lost all this weight. Okay, great. Where's the problem? Well, my overall cholesterol has gone up a bit. I was like, okay. He goes, and my vegan doctor, concierge doctor, he's a vegan concierge doctor. He's not liking this one bit. He wants to put me on a statin. And I said to him, I said, okay, so you must have your ApoB must be out of control, or you must have small dense particles. And he goes, well, no, none of that. It's just the overall number. And I said, okay, first thing you need to do is fire the concierge doctor and find another one. And he goes, well, I like the guy. It's like, well, look, I like a lot of people. There's a lot of mechanics who I love to death. They won't touch my car, right? I'm going to go to the best, not the one I love the most, or not the one. And he goes, but he's my concierge doctor. Yeah, there's a lot of those. You know, throw a rock, swing a dead cat, you'll hit 5 of them. Every doctor's a concierge doctor nowadays. It's the only way they can make a dime, right? You guys aren't yet, but you will be. You know, let me tell you your future. I'm looking into a crystal ball. You're not there yet, but you're going to be there. Unfortunately, it's the only way you're going to be able to make a living, or you're going to have someone walking into your office saying, Laura, you need to toe the company line or you're out of here. And if you think I'm kidding, go talk to my friend, Mark Cucuzella. He'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. Oh man, we love Mark. He was one of the people I shadowed during medical or residency that really inspired me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, got me, I was already doing low carb in clinic, but I actually kind of took some of what he was doing for his patients and started implementing that after I got back from the rotation. And so, yeah, huge respect for Mark and really look up to him.
So, you know what Mark is going through over in West Virginia, right?
Yeah.
You know, this is, and look, I know everything that happened down in Boca. I know that Cyrus got into it on stage with, I think, Bigman. I love that kind of thing. I like the back and forth, because we're never going to get to reality if everybody's just singing Kumbaya. I need Bigman and Cyrus going after each other and trying to find the common ground, because we don't have all of this figured out. Isn't it interesting that I know all this crap? Were you there when all that was going on?
You've got the in.
All right, I got everyone calling me. You know, they don't invite me to these things anymore, even though I spoke for at Low Carb San Diego once for that guy, the guy that runs all these. And of course, my understanding is he was trying to quell the whole, it's like, no, don't quell anything. Let these doctors do this. This is what we've needed forever, right? And if they go to these conferences and they start going, well, I don't agree with you, that's what we need. We need discourse. We need to figure out where the truth lies. And you don't do that by going to a convention and going kumbaya, right? You know, look what happened with identity politics. It doesn't serve anyone. If you're on the right, you love everything about the right. If you're on the left, you love everything about the left. We don't get anywhere, right? We need to get somewhere with people, right? So the Mark Cucuzzellas of the world are telling the truth, and then they get, you know, blamed for it. And you know Mark, I know Mark, he's one of the best doctors out there.
He's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. You could probably measure the amount of glucose he's lowered in patients by the dump truck. And then they just drove him out in West Virginia. It's I was not expecting that based on how every single year, I mean, every single month now, we have better and better data about low carb. It's winning head-to-head trials for weight loss now and all these other things and improving cardiometabolic health. And yet here we are, and he's the nicest guy too.
Yeah. But, you know, you can either go with them and have a job or go against them. I mean, look, my good friend Gary Fetke over in Tasmania, you know, he was curing people of type 2 diabetes, and they said, hey, hit the road. If you do this again, we're going to take your license. And they did. They gave him his license back during the making of my movie. They knew he was going to be in a movie that was getting worldwide release. And magically, somehow they went, oh, shit, give this guy his license back because this is not going to look good on the Tasmanian government, right? This stuff is going on all the time. And it's just little assholes like myself who just keep calling it out. And, you know, when I call it out, it seems like I have a tinfoil hat, but I'm glad you guys see what this guy, Callie Mead, came up with. Callie Means. I say Callie Mead. Callie Means. Are you familiar with it?
I saw the name come across Twitter a couple times in the past week, but I didn't really look into it.
Yeah, he started blowing the whistle. You know, he was in the room with these companies. You know, he had one of those jobs. He started off in a political career, and then he was working for one of these big companies where they just go in and they go, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give money to the NAACP that if anyone says anything about this product, we'll call it racist. We'll just say it's right. This is the kind of thing they're doing, right? Where they're paying off the NAACP, big companies, in order to get a result they want. Does that sound good? Does that sound like something we want?
No, that was for Coca-Cola, right?
I think it was Coke. Yeah. To say the
Yeah.
more sugar you eat, the better. And he's another guy that's looking around going, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm glad that there's more of those guys coming out now, right? That's talking about this, because it makes guys like me who've looked like a kook for all these years. Look, I've been shadow banned everywhere. You know, Wikipedia made me go away. They brushed me out. And even on my wife's thing, they took my name off of that, saying, we can't prove that you're married to him. And she wrote to him and said, this is Serena Scott Thomas. That's my husband. And they were like, yeah, we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Wild.
I'll say there's a saying in science, and it's kind of morbid, but it's science changes one death at a time. And that is, again, that's a very morbid way to think about it. But at least now, with my co-residents who are going on to some of my co-residents and my friends in internal medicine who are going to cardiology, gastroenterology, all of these different other subspecialties in primary care and hospital stocks. I mean, we've had a long chats about this, and like therapeutic carbohydrate reduction, low carb, keto, whatever you want to call it, it's acceptable by this generation. There's not, unless there's a religious or philosophical disagreement, which is, I think, always going to exist with the movement. In general, the people that are very reasonable are on board.
Right. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, because I was talking about, first we have to right the ship, and then we have to turn it around and go in the opposite direction. You know, we have big battles here.
Yeah.
And when you see Tufts getting paid off, and you mentioned Harvard, Harvard's is kind of a tricky wick, because you have your friend over there that's trying to do stuff, that's good stuff. And there's a couple of other things going on. Dr. Georgia Eads was associated with Harvard and all this. But then you have Walter Willett, who's directly taking money from Unilever. I mean, Nina Teichels was able to connect those dots without even trying, right? Just taking money from Unilever, folks, is the Europe version of our big food, right? And just to say erroneous things, just to say that, and when you see people, I just did a thing on my Instagram the other day. I'll put stuff. I don't know if you guys are on Instagram. I'll put stuff up where I'll just say, "Hey, I just saw this on the internet," right? And people will say, they'll write in my comments, "Yeah, no, that never happened," right? Let me see if I can find one of those. I'll actually play it for you guys if I can
Yeah.
find one. See here. Let's go to Vinnie Instagram. Let's see how quickly I could do this. Maybe this. All right, let me see if I could do this, and I'll play it over the air.
Mhm.
Is it this one? Let's see. I saw two different videos lately that were pretty concerning. One said that people who exercise are actually body shaming everyone else who does not. The other one said that folks who exercise are actually racist. I have trouble wrapping my mind around either one of these thoughts. And then I remembered a friend of mine who's been sober for well over 20 years. He was telling me that when he was in the throes of addiction, he blamed it on everyone else, not himself. Does that sound familiar? Stay motivated. Okay. So I put that up, and then, you get, there's almost 7,000 comments, right? That thing was viewed, let's see, it was viewed almost 200,000 times, right? And it got over 7,000 comments and 7,000 likes, but it got over 200 comments. So a lot of the comments were, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I can't believe this." But then there's a lot of the vegans that are coming and go, "Yeah, that never happened. You're making that up." Well, no, I'm not making that up, because you can find this left, right, and center all over the internet, right? There's no way I made that up. This is fact, right? So following that, I said, what if I put one up, since people think I'm making everything up? What if I put one up where I actually put the doctor in the video saying exactly what I said he said, right? So I came up with this one. In the comments that what I'm saying just didn't happen. They go, "Oh, you're making it up, Vinnie." Well, here's Dr. McDougall explaining how insulin and diabetes works and how sugar is actually good for that situation.
Sugar is really kind to the body, even white sugar, in terms of insulin sufficiency, how efficient insulin works. It works better in a sugar environment.
Did I just make that up? All right. All right. So you guys are over there laughing, right? When I play McDougall, right? I've actually had, I remember once having Robert Lustig on the show, and I said, "Well, what about, Dr. Greger saying, that an egg can cause diabetes?" He goes, "Well, he obviously didn't say that." And I said, "Well, hang on." And I played, and Lustig didn't know what to do. Doctors don't like to talk bad about other doctors. I get it. You guys have your own little, country club over there. I get where you are.
Yeah.
But, Lustig was like, "I don't know. I can't imagine he would ever say that." So I said, "Okay, hang on." And I played it. And the guy didn't know what to do. He was like, I can't believe I just heard that. Right. It was crazy. But these doctors will just make up wholesale lies. What say you about what McDougall just said? Sugar. Go, both of you. Let's get your comments here.
I think, man, it's so, I don't even know where to start. To say that the body works better when it's basically being flooded with white sugar because the insulin is more responsive to it. Yes, you will have a lot more insulin around because your body is going to be producing tons of insulin to drive that sugar out of the bloodstream, because it does not like elevated blood sugar, which is what's going to happen if you are eating a lot of sugar. But does that mean the body is actually likes that or wants that? Absolutely not.
Yeah, if your goal in life is to get the insulin high score, that sounds great to me. But otherwise, I can't imagine in what physiological world that would make sense, especially when now I think it's 92% of people, up from 88%, have poor cardiometabolic health. It doesn't make sense. Going back as well, there's a huge push now to say red meat causes diabetes, which in what world does that make sense? I can't even for the life of me figure out the pathophysiology of that. And it's just the echo chambers that can exist on one side that can amplify those messages. The other crazy thing that I heard recently too, and this is probably a small contingency and it probably is getting more airtime than they even deserve at this point, but I saw last week there was a great thread on the fact that there's a group of vegan activists that want to genetically alter carnivores in the environment, not people carnivores, but like animal carnivores, to have them not hunt other animals anymore, because we should theoretically have that technology available to us relatively soon in the future, which is, again, it just shows a fundamental disconnect, fundamental inability to be present in the current reality.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be listening to these people at all. I mean, PETA
Yeah.
and the whole group is it's just nuts. But they have a stronghold right now, and they have people believing that all of this stuff is real. There's a better, if you guys ever want to sit around and, I don't know, have a scotch one night and turn on the YouTube, you can find stuff that comes out of Gregor and McDougall's mouth where your mouth will just be hanging wide open. You know, go do that and you will be shocked. I got a feeling after you do that, go on.
Oh, I would just love to see McDougall wear a continuous glucose monitor and eat what he proposes and just see what happens.
Oh,
mean,
he would explain it away. He actually said, there's one, you guys have to go find this one. It's the one I put in my third movie, Beyond Impossible. McDougall is actually on a dais sitting next to other vegans. I think Clapper's up there, you know, some of the mainstays in the vegan community. People always go, you seem to know a lot. It's like, oh yeah, I don't just get on this mic and run my mouth. I know where these guys live. I know what they do. Look, I just told you what went on at a convention that you were at just 3 days ago. This ear, I'm like an Indian, ear to the ground. I know what's going on. I look like an idiot, but I know what's going on. I have McDougall in my movie, and he's looking straight into the mic from the dais, and he's going, oh yeah, if you want to get rid of type 2 diabetes, you need to have more, not just rice, but white rice, and up your sugar content as high as you can. It was so weird that the other 2 or 3 vegan doctors did that thing. You know, when someone's saying something and you know what, they just started looking down and looking away and looking at their shoes and everything else. It was like, wow, he can't even get his ilk to follow him down this road. Mm-hmm. You got to watch it to believe it.
Yeah. I wonder how much money he's getting. He's got to have some money from Coca-Cola.
I mean, where are the people going after that kind of information like they went after Fetke or Noakes? It seems unilateral. I haven't seen it ever go the opposite way, even though now I talked to Dr. Peter Ballestead about this at Low Carb Boca as well. Banning the vegan diet for children in Netherlands now, and we're experimenting with Meatless Mondays and
Vegan Fridays,
exactly, in some of our school systems. And I think that's the other disconnect that really it's hard for me to come to terms with, is that in medicine we have this thing called do no harm, and right. You have to have an abundance of information in order to make a recommendation to people. And yet for public health, it seems like there's a shift, and they don't need that. But at the same time, when you make these blanket recommendations for 360 million Americans, it is an experiment, and it affects patients, and it makes them concerned and scared and worried. And then they come to clinic with the questions, and then it makes all of our jobs harder.
Yeah. And I think going back, thinking about the fact that, even though the doctors of maybe our generation, they're accepting of low carb more, one of the issues, even if they're accepting of it, they're not necessarily educated in how to teach or educate patients to actually change their life and to enable them to sustain a low carb lifestyle, or to undergo therapeutic carbohydrate reduction, how to deprescribe their medications. And because that is one thing you have to, probably one of the biggest concerns with TCR is that if people have diabetes or on blood pressure medications, you have to take them off of their medications quickly, because it is a powerful intervention.
Right.
That's a good point. There's one thing to mention on that too. So David Unwin was at the Low Carb Boca as well this weekend, and he presented his most recently published paper in the BMJ. So the two things there are two most important times in an outpatient clinic. And the first one is from his paper. And that is that if you have a new diagnosis of type 2 diabetes and you offer low carb therapeutic carbohydrate reduction to a patient, a ketogenic diet, they have a 77% chance of putting it into remission. That's off of all of their diabetes medicines and A1C lower than 6.4% or lower. And we have zero, that is unprecedented. The fact that this is not shouted from the rooftops and is not all over every major outlet, it just tells you all you really need to know about the medical institution at this point, because putting 77% of diabetes in remission is absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And if you asked me in medical school if we would be at this point 5 years ago, from what I even just learned about diabetes then, I would have said no way.
Yeah, because we're told it's chronic and progressive.
It's a chronic and progressive disease, Vinny. You're going to be on that. You're going to be on metformin, and then you're going to be on the glipizide, and then we're going to put on insulin, and eventually your kidneys are going to fail. And that's what the status quo was even 5 years ago. The second thing that is the second thing that's really important in outpatient medicine is the fact that therapeutic carbohydrate reduction is so potent that you have to be incredibly careful about deprescribing insulin, which no other intervention can do either at this point. So you have to be incredibly knowledgeable when you recommend this to people that do have those advanced stages of diabetes, to slowly and safely get them off of their insulin, get them off of their sulfonylureas, which is another medicine that can cause them to go low, and help them with their blood pressure medicine. So we have a huge need in our space, yours and mine space right now, to educate these next eras of doctors, NPs, PAs, but also health coaches, and just demand better for you and your patients.
Yeah. And I think where our goal, what we are hoping to do, because right now this education is lacking in any type of curriculum. It's not in medical school. It's not taught in residency. Everything we do was self-taught and learned, and now going to conferences like the low carb BOCA and doing the certification to become a metabolic health practitioner through the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners, the SMHP. And so what we're currently working on now, being a part of that society, is creating a nutrition curriculum that actually will, the goal is to implement and provide for free to medical schools and residencies and PA and NP schools, so that you don't have to spend hours and hours of learning on your own time, but it's actually put to you on a silver platter saying, here's how you do this. And then now all of a sudden we've got an entire generation who has the education they need to be able to do this. And that's how we're going to reverse chronic disease.
Remind me where you guys practice medicine. Well, you're not practicing yet, Macaulay, but I didn't mean to call you that, Matthew. But where are you practicing right now?
So I actually work with Dr. Tro, and I'm doing telemedicine. So I'm licensed in.
You're licensed in almost every state, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that, going back to what you're saying about we're going to be leaving a practice or going concierge. I mean, so it's not quite concierge, but it's the direct primary care model. It's the monthly subscription fee. And it is incredible. It's amazing to work there. Work with Tro and the health coaches, Amy and Brian and Alice, like the whole team is great. And
Tro has been on this show more than probably any other doctor. Love those guys over there.
Yeah,
here's the crazy thing. My youngest brother, people always say to me, Vin, you're in perfect shape for 60 or for any age. Why do you care so much? Well, because I have relatives and I have brothers and, I have family, and I saw what happened to them. Right. Because they just followed the standard American diet. And my family, nobody's really a drinker. Nobody's a smoker. Nobody's just standard American diet. And they all became morbidly obese. And I looked around and everybody was on 1,000 meds. Right. Mm-hmm. And they kept calling me going, why aren't you on anything? And then before I can answer, oh, that's right, you exercise a lot. It's like, no, it's not just exercise. It's diet. It's yeah, we got to go. I'm busy. I got some fried catfish to eat, that kind of thing. Well, my younger brother, I want to say he's 50 or 51 now, same exact frame that I have, except he was somewhere in the 350-pound category. And everything that comes along with that. Before he hit 50, he had a couple of stents in his heart. Fatty liver, enzymes elevated in the liver, type 2 diabetes, on 3 or 4 medications for that, just the whole deal. And of course, you could get any stranger to listen to you, but try to get family to listen to you, right? It just doesn't work. Well, at some point, just out of, frustration, I guess he started, and look, Mark's called me a dozen times, hey, come on, Vin, what do I do? Bread, beer, fried food, you live down in Cajun country, good luck, right? Just good luck. And for whatever reason, I guess his doctor told him he was going to die soon. He just went, screw it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to listen to what my idiot brother has to say. Well, he's got a 200 in his number now. I think he's like at 280 something. Hey guys, wanted to just break into this show and let you know right now at purevitaminclub.com, you can save 20% on your next order through the month of February. Even if you're getting a new subscription, 20% off. It's a one-time deal. Promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, will save you 20%. Promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, no wimpy Y, 20% off right now at purevitaminclub.com. Now back to the show. And the reason I bring this up is because he didn't even titrate. He started just taking himself off of medication after medication.
Mm-hmm.
His A1Cs are no longer like 8 or 9 or 10. They're at 5.5. So he's right below, the 5.6. That's the standard I like. I like to get people with a 4 in there, at least a 4.9. But he's at a 5.5. He's off of all he's off of every medication now except a statin. And he's the person that a statin was made for, because he's got hardware in his heart, right? He's going to have to be on the statin for the rest of his life. That's why statins were made to begin with, right? But this guy, I wish he had a Laura Buchanan there to help. But he just, every time he went to his doctor's like, I think we could take you off of this. And Mark was like, way ahead of you, doc, been off of for a month. Just been off. Right. So I told him, I said, Mark, don't do any of this on your own. He did it. My brother's hard-headed. He's Italian. What are you going to do? And he just did it on his own. But he, so there we have it. Right.
I'm glad he was able to do that safely.
Yeah. He got lucky. But,
it is abnormal to be 65 and not on any medication, and it's abnormal to have a patient do that with and self down titrate those medicines. It's amazing. It needs to be the norm. Like, we need to normalize those types of things, and having somebody you can work with as well in a physician's office, or just a provider to help you with it as well. But we need to normalize taking people off medicines, stopping the medicines, empowering them with their health, getting them the CGMs, like you said, and getting up to 65 with no medicines.
Yeah. Dr. Unwin said, I think he had not prescribed more than 10 medications for diabetes in the past decade almost. It was close to something like that. I mean, that's
crazy, right?
Incredible. Like, that is awesome.
Look, I was just in a doctor's office at 8:30 this morning because I now have to have, things removed from my skin. I have some precancerous stuff and all this kind of stuff. So first time I've been to a dermatologist ever in my life, but I saw these things on my hand and on my head and the whole thing. And so I go in and they're meeting me for the first time. And so the nurse practitioner person comes in and she's taking notes and she goes, okay, we need a list of your meds. And I said, none. And she looked up from her computer and she goes, no, a list of all the meds. I don't care if you didn't bring them here today, sir. We need a list of your meds that you take. I said, okay, you ready? She goes, yeah. I went, none. She was in shock. She didn't say it, but I knew she was thinking, wait, a 60-year-old man walks in here. It sounds like the beginning of a joke. 60-year-old man walks into the doctor's office and, they said to give us a list of your meds. And the answer was none. She didn't know what to do with that information. I could see the look on her face that she didn't know what that was. It doesn't exist in her world that a 60-year-old can be on 0 medications.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is I got a little skin tag. Biggest problem in the world.
Yeah. That's what the right diet and the right lifestyle will do for you.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I almost died of cancer when I was 45. So who knows? But they told me it would recur in 5 years. And that was in 2007. So you take 7 from 23. What do you come up with? What is that?
16.
16 years cancer free. They told me I would be on chemo within 5 years. Is anyone studying me? Is anyone going, wait, how did this guy keep leukemia at bay? We told him that it was still in his bones. It would grow back and we would knock it back again. Is anyone going, maybe a phone call? Harvard? I don't know, Yale, somebody? Tufts, since Tufts.
Yeah.
Maybe Minnesota University, where Ansel Keys came from. Someone give me a fucking phone call and ask me how I'm doing this. Hey, what are you doing, sir? What do you
Unfortunately, if it's not, it doesn't seem like if it's related to like the next new blockbuster drug that's just every year they're breaking the FDA record for the most expensive drug. And I think we're up to like 20 million now. It just doesn't, for whatever reason. Well, we know why, but we know why for what reason, but it just doesn't create noise.
Right. And look, I have a friend, as a matter of fact, I'm going to go skiing with him at his beautiful home up in Utah, up at Park City, because he can afford one of those because he's brought a couple of drugs to market. Right. He's got a bunch of houses. This guy's a good friend of mine, and he tells me that, yeah, what you're saying is exactly the truth, except he makes his living off of this. That's the other reason I know how it works. Right. And it takes him 10 years, start to finish. They got to go through trials, try it out on a Reese's monkey, put it in a rat, do whatever they do. And then they pay off the FDA and they got a drug. Boom, there it is. Right. Now, I want to go back to something we said a little earlier. Policymakers, you talked about Meatless Mondays and Vegan Fridays and the whole thing. I remember doing the last election cycle. Now, we only had the left to look at because on the right, we knew that Trump, the incumbent, was going to run, right? Mm-hmm. So on the left, we get to see, they have all these people there. And by the way, guys, I don't care what your political, I don't care if you're right, left, or middle, I don't care. And I don't talk about politics because I don't care, but I do care about policy. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching a thing one night. I say, "Oh, I want to see who these candidates are." And it's like Cory Booker is up there, and he's like, "Yeah, if I'm elected president, we're gonna get meat out of schools. We're gonna have Meatless Monday. We're gonna do all this stuff and everything." And I was like, wow, Cory looks pretty healthy. So I looked him up. Big proponent of vegan. So I went, okay, I get it. I get what this guy's doing, right? Mm-hmm. This is something that's on his agenda because he's a vegan, right? I get it, Cory. Fine. So then I was watching something a few weeks later, and it's Kamala Harris, who eventually became our vice president. And she was saying, someone said, hey, Cory Booker says if he becomes president, he's going to pull meat out of schools. What do you think? And she goes, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Now, she doesn't care either way. Politicians just like to win office, right? That's their job. Their job is to win another office so they can keep getting paid. I get it. I don't think Kamala Harris is a bad human being for doing that. But she's out there going, yeah, I think Meatless Monday, Vegan Friday sounds like a good idea to me, right? These are our policymakers just making up stuff out of whole cloth just to continue down the road. Now, one of those two people ended up one heartbeat away from running this country. That's Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. Right? And I don't think she really believes in, and if she ever became president, I don't think she's going to somehow go, okay, Meatless Mondays, every school. But you see, it's out there. We put it out there. So what happens in the next election cycle? Are the Republicans going to go, you know what? Those vegans were making some ground there with that whole vegan thing, the left. So maybe we should pick up because politicians don't care, right, left, or center. They don't care. They want to say whatever, they will say anything to get elected. Doesn't matter which side they're on, right? So that, you know, when you talk about policy and policymakers and who pays these guys, that's what's going on. That's the truth. What say you?
I think if anyone tried to implement a Meatless Mondays across the country, I just hope there would be a huge uproar, because that would be another huge experiment on the country. And the first experiment was the US dietary guidelines that were initially created almost 40 years ago, and we've seen where that has led us. And this would just be another experiment, except this time on children, and who are growing and at the most essential time where they need the most nourishment and protein and essential fatty acids for their brain development. And you're going to take them off and put them potentially on a vegan diet where we know you actually have to supplement both. Really, you need to supplement certain essential fatty acids in addition to certain vitamins. Otherwise, you will become nutritionally deficient. We know in other countries, there's been multiple case reports now, tragically, of kids dying from being put on a vegan diet, which is why it's been outlawed.
We've had that in this country too, Laura. There's a couple that's in prison right now for life for killing their child from a vegan diet. So go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's the sad truth is it is a nutritionally inadequate diet. And if you do not know how to properly supplement, then it can be extremely harmful. And if you can imagine, a lot of kids that are in our school systems, they don't have enough money, and a lot of their nutrition comes purely from the school food. So if they are getting their food from school, and all of a sudden we're taking out the nutritionally dense foods, and they're not going home and taking their B12 and their fish oil supplement that costs $30 a month. That's ridiculous to think that would happen. And
they
so
can't
now,
even feed the kids on regular food. They can't buy McDonald's. There's no way they're buying Pure Vitamin Club multivitamins.
right, exactly. It's insane to think that. And so to implement that diet that we know, again, is nutritionally inadequate without proper supplementation is dangerous. And yeah.
And taking even the 10,000-foot view, I think my ultimate politician would be a Renaissance person. So they would have at least baseline good knowledge in every field. I don't expect a politician to know more about medicine than me. I don't expect them to know how to manage acute coronary syndrome or what happens exactly in a hospital once somebody gets admitted, or even about nutrition, really, because we're all experts in nutrition. But I expect them to know more about, let's say, car emission standards or the gas prices in Europe right now than I do. The problem that I have with probably what Kamala Harris was saying is that you could immediately follow up that question is, just ask her even who Walter Willett is, the most prolific and influential person on public health. And she may not know, she wouldn't know who she is. You could, even a single study about veganism or in head-to-head trials, she probably just wouldn't know. There's just the baseline knowledge, especially for things that affect our kids. And when you put forth dietary guidelines, you really got to be careful, because again, like we continue to talk about, it does make a difference, because it sets our schools' nutrition, it sets the nutrition for a lot of our armed forces. And so it is an experiment that right now is based on, let's just say, shoddy data at best.
Yeah. And look, I have people from the armed services calling me and saying, listen, we need help. What they're serving us when we're overseas, what they're serving us when we're at the little food, at the Marine base and this and that. Would you come? And it's like, listen, I could come and talk to you guys all I want. That's not going to change the policy that, I'm not going to be, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I could come there and tell you guys each individually what to do. But when you're out in Fallujah, you're going to have to eat whatever gruel they give you. And that's it. I mean, I'm sorry, and it's like, yeah, most of the time we're sitting around getting fat. They'll go off on a mission to come back 20, 30 pounds heavier in fat. They get to work out a little bit whenever they can, but they're just sitting around eating grains until they have to go shoot the bad guy and then back eating grains again. Right. And it's just the way it is. And I don't know what it's going to take to change that. Hang on just a second. Folks, Villa CAPPELLI is the longest running sponsor of this show. Paul Capelli and Stephen Crutchfield, husband and husband team, runs that company. Well, they ran it flawlessly, and then Paul up and died. I love that saying, up and died. He up and died. Anyway, and by the way, it wasn't from Villa Capelli, it was because Paul had himself I think a 2-pack a day smoking habit. So kids don't smoke. Paul would be the next one to tell you that. Villa Capelli has been sponsoring this show for about 10 of the 11 years we've been around. You want to look in this country, they could cut seed oils up to 40%. This is what I'm talking to Dr. Buchanan and Dr. Calkins about right now. They could cut it up to 40% and still call it 100% pure olive oil. That does not happen at Villa Capelli. You will taste the difference. I always say it tastes like Italy to me, because whenever I used to go to Italy, I would go, man, the oil is, am I just being romanced by the fact that I'm in Florence, or I'm in Pisa, or I'm in Rome? Am I just being romanced and I think it tastes better? It turns out they don't cut it there. And that's what Villa Capelli does. They're down in Puglia. That's where the best olives are grown. And they crush them there, and they make the oil there, and they ship it to the United States. Good oil is not cheap, folks. And here's how you can save money. Number one, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, will save you 10%. If you spend more than $125 after the Vinnie discount, they will also give you free shipping. And of course, that's the way you want to do it, because when you're shipping that much oil, over 3 liters, it can be pricey. So you want to get it all, and you'll have it for a long time. Villa Capelli, promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, no wimpy Y. We're talking to Dr. Laura. I always want to say Dr. Laura Calkins and Dr. Matthew Buchanan, but that's the opposite. It's Laura Buchanan and Dr. Matthew Calkins. They're a husband and wife team. They look like Ken and Barbie. I can't wait for these two to have a baby, because are you guys planning on having kids at some point?
Yep, it's in the works, or in the books, planned.
Yeah, well, you have to have sex for that to happen, right? Did they teach you guys that in reproductive?
I know we got our 70s swinger knowledge from you last time, so we're up to date.
Okay, I don't know what I said last time, but look, as I tell people all the time, and this will relate to you guys having kids. If they'll say, God, I've given up candy, I've given up all grains, I've given up everything, but I just can't stop drinking Coke, right? I always say to them, it would be like a couple who went to a fertility doctor, and the doctor, the woman just can't get pregnant. So he keeps checking her, and of course she's ovulating, she's dropping an egg every month, and he sees that, he can see, through the test, and he checks the guy, and the guy's got a lot of great swimmers. He's got like the Mark Spitz of semen, and they're swimming around, they're moving around, and the doctor's just perplexed, and he says, no, okay, you've gone off birth control. Oh yeah, I've been off for like 6 months. And he's looking at the guy, and he's like, and you're eating all the stuff I tell you. Oh yeah. And you guys are having a lot of sex when she's ovulating. Yeah. And the doctor's just perplexed. And then the guy says, so doc, should I be taking my condom off when we have sex? See, that's the same as someone doing almost everything right, right? You got to do it all right for it to work. So if you want to use that advice whenever you guys do have a kid, I don't want to rush you. I know you're a young couple. You're coming out of med school over there, Matthew, and the whole thing. But God, you guys are going to have the most beautiful kid on the planet. No two ways about it.
Well, thank you very much.
No
Appreciate it.
problem. No, I look at you guys and I go, Jesus Christ. I mean, come on, Matthew, you got to look at it and go, oh yeah, I got a smoke show of a wife and she's a doctor. You got to do that, right?
I mean, I realized that I really lucked out, and I hit above my average on
Oh, you did. Yeah, I'll take the coverage. Yeah, that's not too
one.
Yeah. But I didn't mean to make both of you blush, but I look at you guys and go, come on, are they really doctors, or is this just like, they got the things in the background, and oh look, I got all these things framed, and but they're real doctors. It's hard to believe. I like to keep these things at an hour. Give me some closing statements here of how people can find you, what they should know. Let's go.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter and Instagram at Laura Buchanan MD. And you can find me also on drtro.com website if you're interested in direct primary care, or if you need help with on your metabolic health journey, you want to reverse your diabetes, work on weight loss, we are here to help you. And I love it. I don't think of it as a job because I love doing it every day. And then we also have a Substack, so kind of more blog post on aging successfully called agingsuccessfully.substack.com. So, yeah.
And I'm on Twitter, Matt, M-A-T-T, Calkins, C-A-L-K-I-N-S, M-D.
Good. And do we follow each other? Because I don't know how that works. I just tweet all the time.
If we don't, we definitely should. So I'll do
I'm
that.
following you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow me and let me know, and then I'll follow you back and the whole thing and all that. So, folks, that's where you can find these guys. And tell Tro I said hi. I look, that guy's doing. I'm an atheist, but that guy's doing the Lord's work.
He is incredible, and he's the best mentor. I'm honored to be working with him.
Very fortunate.
Yeah.
Love that guy to death. Hang on, I want to say goodbye to you guys off the air, folks. A couple of things, people ask me about vitamins all the time. I do own a vitamin company, purevitaminclub.com, purevitaminclub.com. Go there for all of your vitamin needs, especially if you're vegan and you haven't figured it out yet. You're going to need what I have to sell you. Also, if you like coffee, I have purecoffeeclub.com. You check that out. And I don't have to tell people about NSNG Foods. Everyone loves to eat. We have the ultra fat over there. I think the Buchanan Calkins family should be talking about everyone using ultra fat. Everyone seems to love it. We can barely keep it in stock. Go check it out, nsngfoods.com. You know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to vinnietortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire and gets my train down the track. We also have the PDF, the nickel and dime you PDF is $10, folks. You can go get that. It's called the NSNG ebook. And people seem to be losing hundreds of pounds just by reading that damn thing. I'm not quite sure how it works. So on behalf of Dr. Laura Buchanan and Dr. Matt, should I call you Matt or Matthew?
Matt's good.
Dr. Matthew. My name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.